In this video, I'm going to provide a general overview of the workflow for connecting Rhino files into Power BI using the Semantic Rhino Visual. The Semantic Rhino Visual exposes a new type of visual that allows users to render 3D Rhino geometry and have it connect to other dashboard elements. To demonstrate this, I have a Rhino file that's established that depicts a speculative design in a urban city environment. You can see that we have a series of floor plates, and that these floor plates contain some data that's been assigned to them through Semantic. Semantic allows users to define custom property sets, and in this case, the property sets are being used to define areas of information such as the building department, costing information areas, and so on. So in order for me to connect this into Power BI, I need to have the Rhino 3DM file saved, which I have. And I also need to have a set of data that can map to that Rhino file and be utilized within Power BI as a data source. So in order to get data connected into Power BI as well, I'm going to use the semantic properties that are stored in this Rhino file, and I'm going to export a report. So a report represents kind of a schedule of items or some tabular information about different objects, and you can see that I have defined here a report for itemized object data. And if I activate this, you can see that I have information about a Rhino object ID, and then I have the different properties represented in a tabular manner. So I'm getting information about a specific object, its department, building, cost per square foot, the area, and then the total cost. So from here, what I want to do is I want to export this data to Excel. So this will serve as the metadata resource within Power BI. And I can click on Export, and it will allow me to save out that itemized object data. So with those assets defined, what I can now do is go into Power BI, and the first thing I need to do is load in the Rhino Visual. So I need to go under Visualizations, I'm going to choose Get More Visuals, and I'm going to import visual from a file. And this is going to allow me to navigate to the PBI Viz file that comes with the Semantic plugin, and this is located under Documents, Proving Ground Semantic, and there's the Rhino PBI Viz. So I'm going to open that up, and what it's going to do is it's going to import the visual, so it becomes another visual that I can access within the Visualizations tab here. The other piece of information that I need referenced in my dashboard is the data about the different objects that I want to have hook-ins with other reporting components. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Excel, and I'm going to navigate to my information that I just exported. So you can see I have my itemized object data there. I'm going to click Open, and it's going to connect into that Excel file, and it's going to ask me which spreadsheet to pull from, and there should just be one spreadsheet in this particular report. See, there's our object IDs, and I'm going to go ahead and load this in. So we now have our data related to the Rhino file as well, so we can access this using the conventional Power BI workflow here. So what I'm going to do now is go through the process of setting up the visual. So I'm going to click on the Rhino visual, and this is going to activate an instance of the visual here. And you can see that we're prompted with some information. We need to upload a model to our dashboard. So I'm going to click the upload button, and it's going to navigate me to an area where I can select my 3DM file. So here we have our urban development.3dm. I'm going to go ahead and click open. And what this is going to do is it's going to initially process this, but it's also now going to be asking me for some data. So in order for this visual to fully load, we need to map the visual to some of the data information here. Now, it says that this can be dummy data. In this case, I want the data to actually be related to the objects so I can interact with other dashboard elements. So inside of this data source, you can see I have the object ID field. I'm going to drag this over to the Rhino GUID input, and I'm also going to drag this over to the second Rhino GUID input, which controls highlighting. And what this is going to do after we have satisfied some of these fields, it's going to activate the visual. And now what we see here is we have a three-dimensional representation of that Rhino model. sitting inside of the Power BI environment. And where this becomes really powerful is I can now start to use this information and visualize it alongside my other information in Power BI. One thing I want to do here is I want to also do some color highlighting inside of the visual. So I'm going to drag over my department field, and I'm going to use that as my categorical input. And what this is going to do is it's going to auto assign a set of colors to the geometry itself. And if we want a different color theme um, uh, for the file, we can always change up the theme on the fly, and this will reload the Rhino model and display a different set of colors um, for use in the general workflow, and it also changes up the overall theme of the dashboard itself. So now we have this three-dimensional model assigned here. We can now start to use our information that was exported from Semantic to establish some other um, design components as well. So I'm going to pull up the stacked bar chart and have it sit alongside my 3D visual. And in this particular bar chart, what I want to do is I'm going to use my department as the axis, and then I'm going to use my area as the values. So what this is going to do is it's going to produce a chart that looks like this, and we now have retail, circulation, office, and residential. And because the visual is set up in such a way that it's referencing the same data source, if I click on retail, you'll see that the 3D visual will do the highlighting of those objects, those related objects, such that we can just display them and have them interact with this other visual. So there's our circulation, there's our office, residential, and hotel, and so on. What I can also do is have this visual respond to things like slicers. So if I wanted to filter out certain information here, so if I pulled out a slicer and maybe I want my slicer to be responsive to the building category, maybe I only want to display one building or another in this particular design. So now I have that, and what I can do is choose building B, and what that's going to do is it's going to exclude everything in the scene except items related to building B. So there's some nice cross-referencing of data that's occurring here. This particular visual is very customizable. I can go into the formatting tab under visualizations and do a few things. Maybe I want to disable the upload button so that's not visualized in the report. I can also do things like overriding colors of the different departments as I have them selected. I can change up some of the rendering information in terms of shadows. If I don't want shadows, I just want this to be shaded, I can turn those off, for example, or if I wanted to do a kind of more of a flat shade style, we can do that as well. So there's a couple of options there. We can change from perspective to orthographic, and other customization options available here. So one of the powerful things that you can do then by composing these dashboards inside of Power BI and integrating this 3D is also publish this information to the web. This particular visual is 100% supported within online published dashboards. So you can send and share this dashboard with a friend or a work colleague or a client. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and save this dashboard. I'm going to do save as. I'm going to call this the example semantic demo. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my home tab after my dashboard's been saved, and I'm going to publish this. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to publish this dashboard to my workspace online. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and it's going to go through the process of publishing this particular PBIX file to the Power BI cloud. And once this is complete, it's going to be available for online viewing. So this might take depending on what you're pushing up, it may take a few seconds or a minute But you can see we have this up in Power BI. I'm going to go ahead and open Semantic in Power BI here, and I'm going to pull this over. I'm now in the online environment, and it's now going to have this dashboard pulled up and available for viewing. And it might take a second here to populate everything. It's going to load the Rhino model and display that for viewing as well. And what I can also do here from this point is also say, you know what, this is now kind of in the cloud environment. I'm going to go ahead and publish this as a public dashboard to the web. So I'm going to go ahead and create an embed code and publish this. So this is a public link. It exposes the dashboard externally. So if you're dealing with sensitive information, you may not want to use it. But in this case, for demo purposes, I wanted to really show what that whole cycle looks like from taking a model and getting it to a web viewable form. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that link. And if I were to share this link with someone else, that link right there to the Power BI dashboard, what that's going to do is it's going to take them to this publicly facing dashboard environment, and it's going to have both the information about the project as well as a 3D model. And this 3D model is, of course, interactive with the other dashboard components. So in a span of about 10 minutes, we've gone from this idea of a Rhino model sitting on the desktop with some data assigned to it. We've saved that model, we've uploaded it to Power BI, and we've assigned some other data visualization components to the report, and then we've published it to the web, so it's available for online viewing. Very powerful workflow for doing this, and we did it without spending a single minute on a line of code or wrangling a more cumbersome multi-step process that's often associated with this type of workflow.